So I woke up this morning to some rather interesting news. Just last night I was talking with a bunch of people about the Final Fantasy VII Remake and the new trailer, and talking about things that we liked about it, different trepidations we had involved with comparing it to the original, talking a little bit about when we first experienced 7 and how that affects the way we perceive the sequel. And then now there's a Famitsu article that was recently translated talking about how Final Fantasy VII, the remake, is going to be a multi-part series. It's not going to be a single release, it's going to be more episodic. And my immediate gut reaction, which I think a lot of people shared, was bullshit. They're ruining it, they're just being money-grubbing they're being Square Enix. They're being what they have now become Shinra. They're no longer Squaresoft, no longer Enix. Square Enix is this mutated entity that is just pure evil and has a terrible track record now. But I think that might be somewhat incorrect, really, thinking about it and reading a little bit more about the explanation, and it's still a little bullshit, but at the same time, it can be thought of in a way where it could be a good thing. Let me explain my thought process here. For me, the idea that they couldn't recreate Final Fantasy VII as a whole and make it one single release, it would be absolutely massive, is not necessarily true depending on how they go about it. But I think now that we've seen that gameplay trailer, I think things like going around the Sector 8 and Sector 1, going around Midgar, I think a lot of those areas are going to be much more fleshed out, and it's going to be given a much more open world feel, a modern open world feel, to where there's going to be so many little details and so many extra things that you couldn't necessarily explore or examine, or different areas you couldn't really go into in the original Final Fantasy VII, that I think if they do the remake right, which I think they could possibly do at this point, and include everything that was in the original in this more expanded vision, in this more detail-oriented open world version of what we got in Final Fantasy VII, it might actually be too big to be a single release. Now, in saying that, it all depends on how this is handled. They haven't said how many parts this is going to be, how they're going to break things up, how this is going to really affect the actual physical release of the game, and it depends how they go about it. If it is, say, a 2 or 3 part series released in physical form over the course of, say, a year and a half or 2 years, say 2017, they make the 20th anniversary with the first release, and then in 2018 we get part 2 sometime in the summer maybe, and then either that winter or following in 2019 we get part 3, and they're all physical releases, and they're all done really well, and they do not hold back content or DLC. It's kind of like the 3 original discs split into 3 parts and given that big open world feel. Then I'm okay with it. Then I think they actually, in a way, are making a good decision. But we don't know if that's exactly what's happening. My fear is that we're going to get a big deal release in 2017. We're going to get the 20th anniversary physical release of whatever Part 1 contains. I'm thinking it's going to be until you leave Midgar and go into the overworld. I think that'll be the end of Part 1. I'm pretty sure that's how they're going to cut it up. And I feel like we're going to have that, and then the next episodes are going to be split into smaller parts, and they're all going to be DLC every 3 to 6 months. And if they go that route, that's a terrible decision, and that really is going more towards the money-grubbing route rather than having the limitation of how much they can do within a single release if they really are putting all that detail into creating this. But yeah, so we really don't know yet, so I'm kind of iffy. I don't have overwhelming negative feelings towards it, and I'm not really happy on the other side with what we're seeing here. I just don't really know exactly yet what they're going to do. But for me though, I keep flip-flopping because I was super excited at E3 to see this, amazed that it's actually going to happen, but at the same time kind of worried about the quality and what they're going to do. Then we get, on Friday or Saturday, whatever, we got the new trailer, and I'm like, okay, put most of my fears to rest. I think it's really going to be really good. And now we have this, and now I'm kind of not sure again, so I really don't know. And if they do go the route of DLC and don't release a physical release at the end of all that, a kind of a compilation of everything, I'm not even going to play it. I mean, if you're new to my channel, you might not, have heard me talk a lot about DLC and talking a lot about digital releases, but I have never and will never, ever purchase a digital-only release. That I will not buy something that is not an actual physical product that I can have and tangibly, touch and put on the shelf and have artwork, and I won't do that. So for me, the possibility of not playing this at all after being amazed that it even exists is pretty daunting. It's something where I'm really kind of concerned about the product as a whole, and on a personal level about what my experience is going to be with the game if I even have one. So who knows? I mean, we really, again, at this point, don't know what's going to happen, and it's up in the air. I think this is going to go one way or the other. It's either going to be a massive success and be a great experience, or it's going to be a complete disaster. I don't think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I think it's going to be one or the other. So yeah, this is getting pretty interesting here, and it's almost a little bit frightening thinking about what could the future hold with this. But hey, at least we know Shenmue 3 is going to be awesome.